What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we are checking out the Mooer Brown Sound 015. Let's do it! Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take awesome high gain amps, overdrives, guitars, cabs, speakers, and pickups. This is not a pickup. I record them through a simple SM57 setup, and I give you guys the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into East End or thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes who love Diet Cola, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on your way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thank you. I mixed it up a little bit today. Alright guys, so today, we are checking out the Mooer Brown Sound 015, and this is my very first Patreon pedal giveaway. So I actually bought this pedal with funds from my Patreon community, so thank you guys so much to those of you who are part of my Patreon and donate to the channel and help out that way. I actually went online and I bought a second one of these because I found a good deal and I wanted to give more than just one away. So we're gonna give away 2 of these pedals. So if you guys are a member of my Patreon community as of today, which is May 9th, 2022, you've got a shot at winning this pedal. So I will be doing the giveaway shortly after filming this video. And again, thank you so much to my Patreon community for supporting the channel. I really appreciate you guys, and it makes me really happy to be able to give something back to you guys. So with that out of the way, this pedal is supposed to be an emulation of the famous Peavey 5150 preamp. I previously demoed the Brown Sound 3, which is supposed to be the preamp of the red channel of the 5153, and although I loved that pedal, didn't really feel like it was a faithful recreation of the 5153 red channel. It honestly kind of had its own thing going on, again, which I really enjoyed. I think it's a really great sounding preamp pedal, and I actually still own it, but I didn't really think that it sounded like the 5153 channel. So we're gonna check out this pedal today and see if this thing sounds like the red channel on the iconic 5150 from Peavey. So this is supposed to model the original, not the 5152. We're gonna go ahead and jump into it and see how this thing sounds. For that intro clip, I was using my Balaguer Typhon with a Seymour Duncan distortion pickup in the bridge. We were also boosting the pedal with a KHDK Ghoul Screamer. We're gonna turn that Ghoul Screamer off, and we are gonna check out this preamp pedal through 2 different power amps. In the intro, I was using the Seymour Duncan Power Stage 200, which is an excellent solid state pedal-sized power amp that puts out 200 watts into 4 ohms, roughly. And I also have this massive behemoth box of tubes here. This is the Mesa Strategy 400 stereo power amp. This is 200 watts per side, all 6L6 tube power. So we're gonna use the one side of this because it is a very clean sounding tube power amp into my Randall cab here, which is loaded with vintage 30s. SM57 on the V30. Also at the very end of the video, we will check out the built-in cabinet simulation through a direct input on our DAW and see how this thing records as just a regular preamp. So I'm gonna try to cover all bases, and with that being said, I'm not gonna spend too much more time talking. Let's hear how this thing sounds. The 3 EQ controls are at noon, and the gain is at 9 o'clock. So immediately, this thing has a really kind of boxy midsection. Now, the Peavey 5150 is known for kind of having that cocked-wah upper mid sound to it. Not really hearing that here, and I'm hearing more of a boxy low mid than I would hear in a Peavey 5150. So let's go ahead, let's actually try to scoop out a little bit of that midsection. So in my opinion, this pedal doesn't much sound like a 5150 in my experience. It definitely has a weird boxiness to it that the original 5150 does not have. It also is quite a bit smaller sounding. Again, this is a solid state preamp pedal, so of course it's not going to sound like the, you know, full tubed 5150, but you know, it's built to emulate that sound, and I'm personally not really hearing it. I don't think it sounds bad. I think it sounds pretty good, but I'm not hearing the 5150 in it. Let's go ahead and boost the lows to get a little bit more fullness out of this thing. One thing I will say is it feels just a tad slow without a boost in front of it, much like the original 5150 does. The original 5150 has a little bit more sag to it, and is a little bit slower tracking, I would say, than say the 5152 or pretty much any of the EVH offerings. So let's go ahead and boost that gain up just a little bit. I kind of like the highs where they're at, so we're gonna leave those. I'm gonna be 100% honest, guys. I think this sounds more like the preamp of a Mesa dual rectifier 2-channel than I think it sounds like a 5150. Because the dual rectifier 2-channel definitely has a really slow feel to it without a boost in front. It's definitely boxy in the low mids, and this kind of almost has a similar mid voicing to that. It's not reminding me of the 5150. To be 100% honest with you guys, I'm gonna pull the highs back a little bit and push the mids up. Push. That's a little bit more like it, honestly. That sounds a little bit more like a traditional 5150 by pulling those highs back and putting the mids up. Let's get a little bit more gain. It does seem like we're kind of getting like an overloaded sounded low end. It's not really like tubby. It almost just, there's something unnatural about it, I guess. Something that you probably wouldn't hear in a tube setup. Almost like it's causing some weird resonant frequencies inside of the Randall cab. Not 100% sure what that is, but again, you know, the low end of the 5150 originally is very full, especially in the really low frequencies with that resonance control. Let's push up the low end a little bit more, see if we can kind of emulate that fullness. All right, so now we're getting there. I'm gonna pull the low end back on the power stage a little bit. More gain on there. Let's push those mids up just a tad more. Yeah, it's that low mid frequency is what's really holding it back from sounding like an actual 5150 right now. I'm gonna get a little bit more high end in the signal. So if I were to have an EQ after this pedal, I would kind of scoop out some lower mid frequencies, and I think that it would actually get much closer to the actual 5150 sound. I'm gonna go ahead and put a boost in front of this pedal because unlike the Brown Sound 3, this pedal takes a boost extremely well. So I'm gonna show you that right now. We're gonna turn on a Boss SD1. And like I said, this pedal takes a boost much like an amp does. So we're going to pull a little bit of that gain out. terror riff that I completely forgot the end of there. But yeah, now it sounds, again, a lot like it boosted 5150. Those low mid frequencies are really just what is keeping it from sounding like the real deal. They're just not what the 5150, it's not the low mid voicing of the 5150. It's much more like a rectifier in its boxiness. That sounds pretty good though. That is going through the Duncan Power Stage power amp. Let's go ahead and hook this into the Mesa and not touch anything and see what a difference an actual tube power amp makes on this thing. That sounds really, really good to me. Straight up, that sounds really good. Guess what though? Those low mids are still there. I just can't get rid of them. Naturally within the pedal, there's a weird boxy, kind of farty low mid frequency inherent to the voicing of the pedal that followed us from the Duncan Power Stage over to the Mesa Boogie. So kind of a bummer in my opinion, but it still doesn't sound bad. And if I could get let's say if I was gonna put this on a pedal board, pretty much any preamp pedal that I'm gonna throw on a pedal board is going to have a 10-band EQ directly behind it so I can fine tune it, because a lot of the times there are some goofy frequencies in these preamp pedals that kind of need to be corrected to make them sound a little bit more natural. So if I were to do that, I would scoop out that exact low mid frequency that I'm talking about and make it sound a little bit more natural and get a little bit more of those low lows up. Overall, I think it sounds really good though. Right now we do have a lot of mids. Let's pull those mids back and a little bit of the high end back. Okay, let's turn the presence down on the Mesa just a tad. Let's get a little bit more bass on the Mooer. The same thing that I keep saying about the frequencies still applies, but that does not mean it sounds bad. I think it sounds really good. Okay, we've got the Deadwell duality on in front of the boost now. Makes it sound a little bit more natural in the mids. Let's pull the bass back just a tad, highs up just a tad. All right, guys, that sounds really good in my opinion. Again, goofy low mids, everything else to me sounds pretty good. And the way that we have it dialed, it does remind me of the original 5150 in the midsection, in the saturation and the structure. Is it a perfect replica? No. But does it sound good? Absolutely. So last thing we're gonna do, we're gonna pump it into my DAW, and you guys are gonna hear it directly into my interface with the built-in cab simulation. All right, guys, so last but not least, I have the Brown Sound hooked directly into my Focusrite Scarlett 3rd Gen interface, and we have it going into an Ignite Amps TPA1 tube power amp, and we are using the built-in IR, as you can tell by this blinking light on the pedal. So let's hear how that sounds. Honestly, I pre-set everything up and I got a tone out of this thing that I thought sounds really good. So here's what we have going directly into the interface. that sounds awesome. When you plug it in, you definitely have to adjust the highs quite a bit because the cab emulation rolls the highs off a good amount. But even so, on this pedal, there is more than enough top end in that treble control in order to get you enough high end. I'm struggling with words already today, but you guys know what I mean. There's more than enough range on this treble to get the required brightness from the pedal. At least in my opinion, I think it sounds really good like this. The Brown Sound 03, I personally prefer the overall tone of that pedal when going straight into it, but when you would kick that cab IR in, that pedal does not have the same amount of range in the treble control, and it was hard to get enough brightness for my personal tastes using the built-in impulse response. So with this one, plenty of room in the treble. I honestly think it sounds great going directly in. I'm actually very surprised at how much I like it. So now let's turn off the cab sim. Woo! Okay, that's bright. So we're gonna go in and I am going to use an impulse response from one of my favorite companies, which is York Audio, and we are using the 412 Mesa OS with an SM57 on it, basically the same way that I would set it up for my videos. The power amp simulation is back on. Here's what we have. So the thing that I love about York Audio is they get the top end response of impulse responses right, which means that I don't have to crank the treble on the Brown Sound in order to get it to sound bright and not muffled. So let's go into the power amp section. I'm actually gonna crank the depth up a little bit to give it a little bit more low end. And we're gonna turn that treble down on the that sounds really good to me. That sounds a little bit more natural in my opinion. I do think that the built-in impulse response is actually really, really good. But of course, you know, I'm gonna gravitate towards something naturally that I think sounds, you know, as one of the best in the business in my opinion. So here's one riff on that and we'll call it a day on this pedal. Alright guys, that is going to do it for me today on the Mooer Brown Sound 015 preamp pedal. I think this thing sounds awesome. Honestly, if I'm going to use this thing, I'm just going to throw a little EQ after it, fix that low mid frequency that I don't necessarily like, and I think that the thing sounds great. Once you push the mids and relax the treble just a little bit, it definitely gives more of that 5150 cocked wah sound. The gain structure seems right to me. I think they did a really, really good job with this pedal, and one thing that I really love about it, this pedal takes boosts in front, whereas the Brown Sound 3 does not. Anytime I would try to enact a boost in front of the Brown Sound 3, it would start getting feedback and be really thin, and I could just never fatten it up, and I could never get the gain right on it with a boost in front. Well, this one takes every boost that I throw at it really, really well. So what did you guys think? Do you own this? Have you ever played it? Would you ever consider purchasing it? Let me know down in the comments below on this video. I'm always curious to see what you guys think. And if you are a Patreon member, chances are I've probably already done the Patreon giveaway, but if you guys want to get in on more giveaways like this in the future, please consider adding your name to this list of fine people and becoming a Patreon supporter. That way I can buy more cool pedals like this, demo them for you guys on the channel, and then give them away to my very gracious Patreon members. I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate the support. If you want to support the channel without actually having to pay anything, you can go to Sweetwater, my affiliate link down below, buy something from there. And when you buy something using my affiliate link, it costs you nothing extra, and I get a little bit of a commission from that. Last but not least, consider joining my Facebook group, Kyle Bowles Home for Belligerent Amateur Musicians. The link is always down in the bottom of every video. It's a great community, a great place to basically just talk about gear all day long. There's no toxicity like there is in a lot of the other Facebook gear groups, and if it ever becomes toxic, I will boot those people because I am trying to create an awesome and friendly community where people can share their experiences with awesome guitar gear. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time.